Welcome to the House of Hoosier podcast. I'm your host, Guyton. I'm here with my main man, Austin Render. And we're here today, man, to talk a little bit about our tournament run, our Big Ten tournament run, and our play-in seed in the NCAA tournament. But first, what's going on with you, Austin?
What's up, AJ? It's March. It's the best time of the year. It's the best week of the year. We get to watch basketball basically wall to wall here for the next several days. Glad to hear you're doing well and better, and that's good. Obviously, there's things much more important than March Madness in all of our lives right now. But glad we get to join here and talk about the Hoosiers. An exciting weekend, AJ. Yeah. Indiana, as it showed, being a play-in team, was clearly not in the field going into the Big Ten tournament. I would say not in the field even after beating Michigan.
Yeah,
they needed everything they got. Yeah. And credit to this team with its backs against the wall. It came up with two ginormous wins that altered the course of this season and could potentially alter the course of Mike Woodson's tenure as the head coach.
Right. I mean, the goal was to get in the tournament. For Mike Woodson, I think the mission was accomplished. I mean, albeit it's not the way that you want to get in the tournament, but you're in the tournament. So that will carry on the resumes of those players and the resume of Mike Woodson in his first year. In hindsight, you are correct, man. It looked like, whether they beat Michigan or not, they weren't in the field. And then, to get that next win was very important against Illinois. That's what ultimately got them in the play-in game. So, but you just want to be in the field with an opportunity to play. You want to try to win many games as you can, and a difficult matchup in the first round. I've watched Wyoming play on TV a couple times. Very well coached, very aggressive offensively. So it's going to be an exciting it's going to be a great opportunity for Indiana. But there's no cakewalk here in the first game.
This is great. We got a Wyoming expert joining us. Let's focus. We'll get to the Wyoming matchup and we'll break that down from every angle. I do want to get your take. I mean, this team, for what it's worth, it did lose 7 of its last 9 games. And I would say that as to a lot of Indiana fans upset they're in the play-in game. No. I would turn that back at you and say, look, just be happy they're in the field, because they had moments there at the end of the year where they could have put themselves in, Rutgers and Purdue, and lost both those games. Although I'd say in the last 7 games, final 4 games of the regular season, final 3 games there in the Big Ten tournament, something clicked. Yeah. Is it as simple, AJ, as Xavier Johnson just taking his game to another level?
Yeah, I mean, we always talked about that, about there having to be someone at the guard position who's extremely consistent. Yeah. And up to that point, even during that stretch, towards the end of that 7 of 9 stretch, Xavier started playing well towards the end of that stretch. So, and it carried over. It just wasn't translating to wins because the Hoosiers weren't finishing games. I think it started after the Northwestern benching, if I'm not mistaken. After that, now they got benched at Northwestern. They came back with a different mindset, and that's what it takes. You have to have consistency at that position. You have to be timely in everything that you do. You cannot, be in foul trouble the whole game and committing 5 or 6 turnovers, playing too aggressively. You have to be. I can see the maturation in Xavier Johnson as he's dissecting, knowing when to get the ball inside, knowing when to play his 2-man game with TJD as well. So that consistency is what I believe enabled Indiana to start to compete in those upper echelon games. Not Michigan, but especially the Illinois game. Michigan, I think they're pretty much even as a team. It's clear that Illinois is one of the top teams in the Big Ten this year. So to get that win, to beat them at their own game when it comes to being aggressive defensively, cleaning up the backboard, and Xavier and TJD taking their games to another level.
Trayce really did. And Xavier had been doing this, like you said, I think since the benching, he kind of came back. Trayce had been struggling, and he was very candid about it after the second Illinois game. He said when they played Kofi Coburn the first time, that hurt his confidence.
Okay.
And I think he finally got that confidence back here very late in the season and had just an incredible Big Ten tournament. 31 points in the loss to Iowa. He dominated Hunter Dickinson in the second half of that game. I thought he really took it to Kofi Coburn in the Illinois game. And that's what you need from your leader. You need your star to go and get his. And he put this team on his back in the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, both of those guys dominated TJD in those 2 regular season games. Kofi did, and Hunter Dickinson did as well, which was really the catalyst behind getting their teams going. And I think he responded to that. He took it personal. He came out and started to use his advantage, which is his quickness. You cannot, continue to back down guys that are bigger and stronger than you.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go crab dribble and they're stronger than you. You got to use your advantage. You got to get them out at 8 to 10 feet, sweep right, sweep left, go, finish. They can't react to that. There's a reason why that type of big is not prevalent in the professional ranks anymore. And that's the reason, is because they can't guard pick and rolls. They can't guard lateral movement consistently. And in order to play, at this level, at the college level and at the pro level, you have to be able to do that. And I think TJD exposed them in that way. And so that's taking this game back to another level. Because, people were beginning to question, all right, man, you was doing this earlier in the year against cupcake teams. All right, now it's time to, produce against, these guys, and you disappear. But I think he really responded to that and put his name back into the conversation with those guys.
When it sounded like Mike Woodson challenged him at halftime of the Michigan game, I think he challenged the whole team because they weren't playing well, but specifically challenged Trayce because I think he had maybe 4 points at halftime. And did you ever have one of those moments where Bob Knight at halftime would challenge you, would challenge a teammate, would challenge you guys to take your game up a level because the first half just didn't meet his expectations?
I mean, it was weird because when I was playing in locker room with Coach Knight, it was almost opposite whenever we was getting drilled by somebody, it was like, hey guys, we can get back in this game, but we have to do X, Y, Z. Excuse me. He would never go to a particular player and say, oh, he's kicking your ass, he's sticking you. He may say, we got to get this guy under control. We have to do this X, Y, Z. So I was never personally challenged by Coach Knight. I mean, that should be a personal challenge in yourself. But as a team, sometimes it just didn't work out. I remember somebody posted the other day, we got drilled by Michigan, one of the worst losses in my tenure, my sophomore year. And but it's like that. I remember that conversation in the locker room, same thing, and it didn't work. But the year before, we were down 20-something at half. And same conversation, and it worked. We came back and won the game. So, Coach Knight was, in my time, he didn't personally attack anybody in the locker room. It was always about how we could get into the game, what segments we needed to play in by the TV timeout. Let's be 12 down by this, well, let's be 8 down by the time we hit the 4-minute mark, let's be in this game. And so, challenging, that's a new thing. Maybe these kids need to be challenged nowadays. So I'm not against that either.
That's a good point because it was crazy how quickly the Michigan comeback happened. They're down 17 with about 12 and a half minutes to go. And by the under 4 media timeout, Indiana had grabbed control of the game.
Right.
It wasn't that they had to come from 17 behind and make a late second shot. They took the game and controlled the final few minutes of it and played that game to their style for the final 12 minutes, which was crazy.
Was Michigan just playing really comfortable in the first half. I was watching, it was smiling. The guy's walking the ball up the court. He's surveying the court. He's cutting wherever he wants to cut. He's throwing the ball wherever he wants to throw it. And in the second half, Michigan's offense was extended out to about 40 feet because now Indiana was pushing them out. That's what you have to do defensively. You can't, when you see a point guard walking the basketball up, surveying the floor, and there's no pressure, your defense is in trouble at this level. So I think Indiana ultimately just picked up their intensity and aggressiveness, and I think that's a weakness of Michigan. They just don't have those type of shot creators and ball handlers that they've had in the past.
Well, it was the opposite of the Minnesota game for Indiana, where the Hoosiers got up, 24-28 in that game, and they relaxed, and all of a sudden Minnesota got themselves back into the game. But that 17-point comeback for Indiana, Change the season. You're looking at an NIT season. You're looking at Trayce Jackson-Davis probably not playing an NCAA tournament. You're looking at a 6th straight season without an NCAA tournament.
Right.
And all of a sudden the script flips. Indiana comes from behind, wins that game, beats Illinois. Here they are. The big thing for me, AJ, that continues to be an issue, and I think will be an issue tonight and into future games if they win, Indiana has to hit the 3 ball. Yep. They didn't do it in the Big Ten tournament and still found a way to win. Mm-hmm. But we talked to Don Fisher yesterday at our radio station, and he said Keegan Murray's out here hitting 8 threes. Mm-hmm. And in order for Indiana to keep up, Trayce is having to make almost double the amount of shots because all of his are 2s. Mm-hmm. And I think there's going to be a lot of onus on Miller Kopp, on Parker Stewart, on Rob Finney. You don't have to make 8 threes, but maybe between the 3 of you, you make 8 threes. Right. Just knock down the open looks. And I think that's what is still missing for this team. Xavier Johnson's taking his game up. Trayce Jackson-Davis taking his game up. But you cannot have 5 made threes or whatever it may be. They're going to have to generate some 3-point shots.
Absolutely. I agree. We've been talking about that all year. I mean, that's the key ingredient to a successful college basketball team at this level. You have to make your open shots. You have to make shots at a high rate, and that's what ended up getting us in the Iowa game. It was like Hannon made 2 or 3 in the last minute, a couple minutes. Keegan hit 7 or 8 threes. His brother hit a couple threes. Yeah. I mean, dudes was just knocking down shots, and that's shot making. I mean, it's a miss or make game, and we have to. I think in the Illinois game, Miller Kopp hit a timely 3 in the corner. Yeah. You can't miss. And that same 3, I would believe, was missed in the Iowa game, and so he and Parker Stewart really have to help out by making their open shot because they're going to get them now. And Parker Stewart missed a couple open shots that he could make, but that scenery is different. The tournament scenery is different. That's why teams play differently in the tournament because it's a neutral site. You're not used to anything, and whatever happens that day happens. But shot making is the key to Indiana moving forward, or as far as they're going to go. They have to make shots. Let me tell you guys a little bit about our partners over at Bet Rivers Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up with Bet Rivers yet, now's the time because they're offering a $250 match bonus for our first deposit. But what sets them apart is that they require just one play to turn your money into cash money. With their new Rush Pay instant approval, withdrawing your winnings is safer, more secure, and more reliable. With football season kicking off, get in on the action by going to betrivers.com today or by downloading the Bet Rivers iOS app. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Parker is 5 for his last 25 over the last 6 games from 3. It's been a bit of a cold stretch for him, but he's such a good shooter. He's going to break through it at some point. That you bring up a good point. Iowa just kind of raining down threes. It's why Indiana, I don't think, could ever put that game away. They'd go up 9, they'd go up 7, but against a team like Iowa, a 9-point lead is 3 possessions and 45 seconds. They make 3 threes and boom, it's a tie game. And I think with Indiana, they just have to work so hard to get 9 points. And then Iowa comes down and in 3 possessions, they get an easy 9 points. And that was kind of the difference. Not that Indiana didn't play well in that game. They did. They should have been in overtime if it weren't for a crazy shot. But it's just that's the different style of Iowa maybe playing today's game and Indiana playing Mike Woodson's day game.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's Iowa did what you have to do as a team to give you a chance to win a game, and that's stay in the game. And that's when that's your best players or your creators keeping you in the basketball game. The stuff that they were doing was not, based on their offense. It was a guy raising up, hitting a 3. It was Perkins, penetrating to the rim, making layups. It was creativity. And that's where I would like Indiana to get to, in order to get to that level is to be creative, pushing the basketball, getting more fast break points, making more open threes. Until we do that, it's going to be hard for us to get up into that upper echelon until we get to the point where we can get, a certain amount of fast break points per game, or we can get, I don't think, has Indiana had a 15 3-point make game this year. You know what I
Probably
mean?
not.
Like every team that's capable of that has at least 1 or 2 throughout the year. I think our highest probably is maybe 9 or 10.
I
You
could
know what I
probably
mean?
find it here.
Yeah.
I'll work on it.
And
But
so whenever you have, a team like Iowa trying to stay in a basketball game, you just stay close. You stay 8 to 6 points. You don't let it get to 11, 12, 13. You stay 8. You hit a 3. You get an and one. I'm just remembering plays that happened in that particular game to where you give yourself a chance to where anything can happen in that tournament setting. And that's what Iowa did. And Indiana just had opportunities to knock down some open shots, had a couple crucial turnovers at the end of that game towards the end, and lost the ball. Those are, I always tell when I coach, I said, I don't care what happens, let's get a shot up on the backboard. I said, because it always gives it an opportunity to go in. When we turn it over and push the ball the other way and give them the momentum, we're playing defense on ourselves. So that's kind of the idea I want Indiana basketball to get to.
Yeah, I saw they had in the Purdue women's basketball game notes, their new head coach, Katie Gerald's, one of her philosophy is shoot the ball before you turn it over.
Right. Yeah.
It's sometimes it sounds silly, but you're right. I mean, every possession you turn the ball over, you don't get a shot.
Right, exactly.
And that sometimes it is just as simple as that. What do you look at when you see something like what Bohannon did? Did you ever have something like that? I know you've had your share of buzzer beaters, but have you had one of those where someone hits it on you? And how difficult is that on the team to put that away and move on?
I mean, you're more accepting of a shot like that than you are of an open shot that you gave up just off a defensive breakdown. I remember against Purdue, my freshman year, Chad Austin hit a fade away from the right wing to beat us at Indiana, but the defense was so good. So there's nothing. Charlie Miller was 6'7", Austin like 6'1", had his hand up. He made him go fade to the baseline. He shot it, he put an arc on it, and it went in. It was like, man, you couldn't defend that any better. But then I think my junior year, Purdue beat us at home on a 3-point basket on a missed switch. That hurt worse than what Chad Austin did. Like, you know what I mean? So when you have a defensive break where you handled it all game, and that last play, you don't communicate on the switch, and the guy gets a 3, and it ends up beating you. Shot like Bohannon's. I was watching it, and I always wondered this when I'm watching these guards that can't really blow by you, they don't have a quickness, which Bohannon doesn't have. I think it was a race guard him at the end.
Trey was the last guy to have a hand up. It was Jordan kind of ran.
Oh, it was Trey. I'm sorry, you're right. It was Trey.
Yeah.
So, and my message to Trey and anybody guarding guys like that is press up. Don't when any basketball player, any shooter gets a rhythm dribble and turns and faces you, and they put it right hand shooters put it in their left hand. When he did that, I knew he was about to shoot it. And what I always taught was when they turn and face you, press up. So you force them to like guys guard Steph Curry. They almost have to guard him on his hip. Like that way, if he takes a shot, it's going to be a runner. It's going to be a fadeaway to the left side. And just for a half a second, Trey just a half a second, he relaxed.
Yeah.
And that just
can't do that against Bohannon.
Opportunity. No, I would rather you press up and make him make another dribble to put the shot up. And if that goes in, it goes in. Either way, it's a bank shot. It was one of his lucky shots. He's proven to be clutch throughout his career, though. So when those guys like that get the ball in their hands, you have to make sure that they pass the basketball because they're more than capable of making shots like that.
I would say along the lines of what you were saying with more frustration was probably the previous threes. The other ones where there were defensive breakdowns and he got some open looks.
That's what
in the
beat
final
you.
Few minutes. Yeah.
That's what beat you. It's not the lucky 3 at the end. And now the coaches tell you that all the time. It's the little things, the little breakdowns that they had towards the last 3 minutes of that game that beat Indiana. It wasn't that lucky 3. That's just you doing your job as Iowa, keeping yourself in the game by taking advantage of these breakdowns. And and then you rely on basketball players to make basketball plays, and which is where Indiana has to get to.
Here's your answer for most threes made in a game. Your guess was what, 9?
I said 10.
10. It was the double overtime Syracuse game. They got 11.
Ooh, yeah, I remember that. It was knocking that in.
It took double overtime.
Why?
But
And pause. You frozen.
I am frozen. Can you still hear me?
Oh, you on purpose? Okay.
No, I don't know why I'm frozen, but as long as you can hear me, I guess we'll roll with that.
Cool, we're roll with that. You know, I want to see.
There we go.
Handsome guy. You know what I mean? So, but 11.
As long as you can hear me, it's the podcast part of it's the most important.
Right.
So yeah, 11 against Syracuse, 10 against Minnesota, Penn State, and Louisiana.
Oh wow! So yeah, you know, if you're a team that shoots like that, you have one of those 15 threes and above made games. Like I think Iowa had one recently. I think that might have been the game. They had one in the Big Ten tournament.
Yes, so they had a record. I think it was 19 against Northwestern.
You know what I mean? So that's 9 more threes, 27 more points. That's amazing. So you know, I think like you talked about earlier, it's going to come down to whether or not we can make shots at the end of the day. Well, those two guys, Parker, Kopp, if we could get you know, tomorrow to come off the bench and knock down a couple. You know, Fantasy's always struggled throughout his career. I kind of, when he shoots it, I just be like, all right, I hope he gets on this game. You know what I mean?
He's a microwave.
But those other two guys, they're proven shooters. They can shoot the basketball. And the tricky part as a coach is you don't want to talk about that because it gets in their head. All you want to say is, hey, you get it, you knock it in, man. You're doing well. You want to be positive, but it is in your mind. You're like, damn, man, you need to knock these shots down. But you can't say that to players because they start to think about that. So my thing for them is just to get in the gym. Hope yesterday they got up about 100 made threes in the practice yesterday, and then go in and just let that thing fly. And we'll live with the result as we have.
Here's the difference in the Iowa game. Indiana 30 made baskets, Iowa 28. Indiana made 5 3-pointers. Iowa made 14. That's 27 more points from beyond the arc for Iowa. I don't know how you're even within a bank shot at the buzzer.
Exactly. It don't sound right, but Indiana got to the free throw line more.
A couple more, but not even all. It was just Iowa made 50% of its shots from the 3-point line. Wow. 14 of their 28 makes were from the three-point line. They were 14 of 32. Keegan Murray was 8 of 10. Jordan Bohannon was 4 of 9. Everybody else was 2 of 13.
Yeah.
And then for Indiana, 5 of 19 from the 3-point line. Xavier 2 of 6. Miller Kopp 2 of 7. Everybody else 1 of 6. Stewart 0 for 2. Tamar knocked down 1, and Trey Galloway was 0 for 3.
I would say for Parker, that's not enough looks.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to be 0 for 6, 0 for 7.
Yeah, I agree.
0 for 2 means I'm just taking them if I'm open. You know, at the end of the
100% agree with you.
So you got to take more shots than that.
All right, Wyoming. First 4. This is not a thing when you were in the NCAA tournament. Right. I know you have been in the NCAA tournament now, so you know what the feeling is when you go take that floor, what they're going to be feeling tonight when they take that floor. They're coming out NCAA tournament. None of these guys have played in an NCAA tournament before. Mike Woodson has never coached in an NCAA tournament. I mean, Dane Fife is your guy. He's the one guy who's got some tournament experience on this staff.
Right.
What are they going to be feeling when they're lacing it up, coming out for tip-off?
I mean, it's a different atmosphere. You know what I mean? My advice would be is as a team and as a unit would be to stay in the game because the momentum is different in the NCAA tournament. It's a weird feeling, especially in those late games. Like, you know, I think they got with a 9:25 Eastern tip. I hate the late games, man. It's different, man.
We're gonna be up late tonight.
Yeah, stay in the basketball game. I remember my last game, and I think we played. I want to say we played that 10-something tip. 10-something Eastern. Is it a game after that game in the regular tournament? Like a 10 Eastern?
Not real late. In the regular tournament, yes, they'll go as late as 10 Eastern.
Yeah, so I was like, man, we were zombies. Like it was the weird. We all, and what does it is you just rest all day, and you just like resting all day, and then you're getting up and going to play basketball. And the team that's ready and jumps out usually wins the game. So Indiana needs to be the team that's overhyped and ready. We weren't overhyped. We weren't ready, and Pepperdine was. And they came out and they drilled us from the start. Before we knew it, we was down 15. Before we knew it. So my advice to them would be, man, it's a certain type of excitement you have to have, but you have to calm yourself a little bit and focus on, hey, let's just stay in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Let's either punch them in the mouth first, or if they playing well, let's stay right there with them. Let's match their energy. Let's match their enthusiasm, because Wyoming's gonna come out playing very fast. So don't get blown away by, you know, the way that their style that they're playing. Control the tempo as you have, and just and break the game down into segments and win those segments.
Having traveled around with the women's team this year, even like a 7 or 8 o'clock tip, it's a long day.
It's a long
because
day,
the coaching staff does a good job. They get them up for breakfast sometime around 9 or so that nobody's sleeping in. But it's just a lot of, all right, study hall, shoot around, film, 20-minute nap. It's a very long day. And now this is a 9. Would you watch the game before?
Yeah, I mean, I would. I'd do the best that I could to get my kids up and moving early, because
they'll stretch in the tunnels, I'm sure, and
they'll do all that and, you know, get ready for the game. But it's like just sitting around. You got to think about how long that day is. You know, get up, go watch some of the first game. You know, chill out. You know, get each other excited. Just be in the atmosphere, feel the atmosphere. Don't just show up to the game, because you know it'll overwhelm you. I hope they practiced that late couple days, that one day. If they did, I don't know.
They did. They had an open practice yesterday from like 6:30 to 7:15 or something p.m. yesterday.
That needed to be at 8 and 9. So, because I'm telling you, it's different. You got to think about that. How in normal life, how relaxed you get around 9:30. You know, you're at 10:30. You're like, man,
that's my bedtime, AJ. You're speaking my bed, and I know that's yours too. With the new
one too. So it's like, I mean, it's not my bedtime, but I definitely consciously relax. I'm like, whatever happens after this is going to happen to me, because I'm not out here doing anything. You know what I mean? So that's your natural day for a kid. I'm sure their bedtime's around 9:30, 10 as well. So, and
you got to keep in mind, Wyoming is also wired a few hours back too. So that's a 7:30 start time for Wyoming.
It's the same thing that happened. Pepperdine was on the West Coast. So they're used to playing 3 hours ahead. So, you know what I mean? So it's all those little things that you playing those late games that you have to be conscious of. If that's the only regret I have. We lose a game, but you just don't understand how I don't remember anything about the game. Like that's how quick it went. It went so fast. We were getting our ass kicked so quickly. It just seemed like it was like 12 people on the court against R5. Like it was like they was ready. And we was not ready for that type of aggression.
You were playing the Monstars.
Yeah, that's how it felt. It really did. It was like, damn, it's like 3 people around you all the time. So I would just be very conscious of get my energy up and ready to play at that time.
Yeah, it feels the first 5 minutes, the first segment before the media timeout feels very important. Get Trayce a bucket, maybe knock down a 3. And you know Dayton is going to be red. There's going to be Hoosier fans everywhere there. So you got to get that crowd into it, because it is going to be a home court advantage, but it's only a home court advantage if you make it that way.
Right.
If you fall down 12-2 immediately and Wyoming's got all the momentum, the home crowd is all of a sudden becoming a negative, because you're hearing the oohs and the uhs and the all the murmurs. So you're right. It's got to be a quick start for the Hoosiers. I mean, X has got to be good. Trayce has got to be good, but you're going to need that third score. Who's it got to be tonight, AJ?
Third score tonight. It has to be Rayce Thompson. I think Rayce has to have, you know, because most teams don't have a guy that size that can play inside, that can play him one-on-one when in those teams outside of the Power 5 conferences. So he's going to be a guy that has to draw some attention and put some confusion into the Wyoming staff as to what they're going to do with this particular matchup. I mean, you just can't double team everybody. So, you know, they're going to have to pick a poison. And when it comes down to it, we talk about it and we talk about it and we talk about it. When he kicks that thing out, those guys have to make shots. Yeah. And I think Rayce has to be very crucial. I think we have to make to at least 7 or 8 I would say 9 or 10 threes. I think Race Thompson has to have a dominant performance.
I'm feeling a double for Race tonight. I think that's big. He is such a good rebounder. I think we don't appreciate it enough how well he seeks the boards. I feel like somebody's got to hit at least 3 threes tonight.
Absolutely.
I don't know who it's going to be. It could be Tamar off the bench. It could be Miller. It could be Parker. It could be Rob. It could be Xavier. Somebody's got to come in and hit 3 threes. I don't know who it's going to be, but
you cannot go and make 6 or 7 threes and think we're going to beat anybody in this tournament consistently. We might escape it in the play-in game, but the next game against St. Mary's, I watched them
dominate. They're a tough team.
I watched them dominate Gonzaga late one night, just randomly up watching. And I'm like, damn, these ones are good. Like, what the hell? So that their tempo that they play in, those West Coast teams play at, you got to be able to control that tempo, but you got to be efficient. I've always talked about this, even during Archie Miller time. I felt like Indiana just runs too much offense. We run way too much half-court offense, and people are going to figure out the 2-man game lob. And then what else do we go to after that?
There's going to be a lob or two, though. I'm telling you, I saw somebody, I think it was the Assembly Call, tweeted it. Can't wait to see an X to Trayce lob in the One Shining Moment montage at the end of the season.
It's going to happen. But when they take it away, what are we going to next?
I think it's going to be big for Race to play big as well. When Trayce is on the bench, you need Race to be able to be that guy as well. I think Race is a great pick to click tonight. Quickly, a little scouting report on Wyoming. You said you've seen him a couple of times. From what you have seen, what do they bring?
I don't know the names of the guys.
That's fine. That's fine.
I remember them playing very aggressively, fast, attacking matchups. I think shooting the basketball well.
They do shoot.
Shoot the basketball well, and got a big guy in the middle that plays his role. Well coached. I saw they don't beat themselves. What we talked about earlier, they get a shot up on the backboard every single time, and they were tough defensively. So I think it's going to be a good, better game than people think it is. I think Indiana will prevail. I think Indiana's battle tested because of the Big Ten and the rigorous of the schedule of the Big Ten. But you have to knock these guys in the mouth early in order to establish the difference between the two schools and the two conferences. They're going to be excited about playing. So if we could control their tempo and not let them play at their tempo, getting up and down, we're going to have a better chance to win.
34% 3-point shooting team. They make about 8 per game, little over 8 per game. They were 6 of 25 in the loss to Boise State in their Mountain West Conference semifinal. Kind of the reason they lost. They lost by 8, just couldn't knock down enough threes. They will shoot the 3 ball. The names to watch for: Graham Ike. I believe he is their big guy who's going to be matched up against Trayce Jackson-Davis. 19.5 points, 9.5 rebounds per game. So that will be a challenge for Trayce. Hunter Maldonado averages a little over 18 a game. And then Drake Jeffries is a 42% 3-point shooter, averages just over 10 per game. And Hunter Maldonado, 18 points, 6 rebounds, and it looks like probably about 6 assists per game as well. So Maldonado's a do-it-everything guy. Ike is their guy down low, and Jeffries is their 3-point shooter. So they've got some weapons, 3 guys in double figures. They can beat you in a lot of different ways. And mid-majors come March, they're hungry. They want to beat the big boys, and Indiana, in this sense, is the big boy.
Yeah, they're going to be excited, man. Those 2 guys that you mentioned, Maldonado and Ike, those are the 2 guys I remember dominating the game that I was actually watching. And, I think that it's going to be very important to take it personal, as you talked about earlier, take it personal against that matchup. Those numbers aren't shabby numbers from neither one of those guys. So if you're averaging 18, 19 points a game, that means some nights you're not getting 26, 28. At the worst, you're getting 15, 16. So, these guys are high-level basketball players. I know Maldonado is very aggressive, but he's a willing passer, and he's able to, he's not going to take bad shots. He's going to knock them in. He's going to get to the free throw line, and he's going to kick out to the shooters to get them shots. So, our defense has to be solid, as it wasn't against Keegan Murray. We didn't do a good job against him. We got to take the challenge on to take one of those 2 guys out of the game.
I was just going to say that. I don't think you can take them both out, but you can't have both guys going for 20. Maybe one guy goes for 25, but if you can hold the other guy to 12, that feels like a win. And I think you have to run them off the 3-point line. That's what Boise State did. You're going to have to be able to do that today.
Right.
I'm putting it on you here, AJ, as we wrap it up. We'll probably, maybe we'll do an emergency show if the Hoosiers win. I'm not going to promise anything, but let's just focus on tonight because there's some superstitious IU fans out there. We don't need to focus on anything else. Tonight, does Indiana get the job done?
Yeah, Indiana gets the job done. Even if I didn't believe they was going to get the job done, I'm telling you they're going to get the job done.
This is an IU podcast. You can't say that Wyoming's going to win.
I only be realistic when it's time to be realistic. But in this matchup, we should win this basketball game, and we should get into that game against St. Mary's.
That will be a very interesting game, and we'll take it by ear. We'll play it by game, see what we've got content wise for you on Thursday. But happy to get a little pregame, a little preview of what's to come today for Indiana and Wyoming. Like you said, very, very late tip-off time, scheduled for 9:10, but that's if the game before it is the perfect amount of time, which it never is. So it'll probably be closer to about 9:30 Eastern time. AJ, thanks for hopping on. Wishing good health for your daughter and for everything that you're going through here. I'm glad we were able to squeeze this in, though.
Thank you, man. Appreciate everybody in your prayers. Thank you. It's working. So we'll keep going day by day with her. But thank you.
Awesome, AJ. Thanks so much. Hey, go Hoosiers tonight in the first 4 against the Wyoming Cowboys. That's House of Hoosier. AJ Guyton. I'm Austin Render. We'll see you next time.